Hey guys, Mark Powell here from Powell Not Found podcast. I just wanted to address everybody before the show and talk about an error I found in this episode. So throughout this episode, I talk about wanting to talk about Mike Birbiglia's Please Stop the Ride comedy show that I got the opportunity to go see. I say it in the break, I say it in the intro that we're going to talk about it, and then never get around to talking about it. And that's what having a podcast is all about. It's about not writing down an itinerary and not keeping to a schedule and then saying you're going to talk about something and then never getting to it. But with this opportunity before this episode goes live, I just wanted to say, if you do get the opportunity to go see the show, see Please Stop the Ride by Mike Birbiglia. I'm a big fan of his comedy. He's part of the reason I even wanted to try comedy in the first place. And it's a great show about his father, about his daughter, about his family life, and how he's grappling with it. I got the opportunity to see it at the Warner Theater in Washington, D.C., and I laughed the entire time. So with that said, finally, here, my review of Mike Birbiglia's Please Stop the Ride. Great show. Go see it. And now, without further ado, the episode where I constantly say we're going to talk about it, but then never do. But anyways, mistakes happen. Enjoy episode 26. Bye. This week on the Powell Not Found podcast, we're talking about the Yankees' June woes have become July woes, the All-Star game, and their weird choices around that game. Also, we're talking about Mike Birbiglia's new stand-up special and a review of Despicable Me 4 coming up next on the show. Let's go, let's go, let's go.
I'm gonna tell you a story about a girl who loves gin. National pandemic seized her birthday celebration. Although she knew it was coming, we tried not to tell her. She brewed some Irish breakfast. Did she knew her birthday was getting corona?
Hey everybody, and welcome back to the Powell Not Found podcast. This is your host, Mark Powell, of that show, available on YouTube and Apple Podcasts. I want to get straight into it because we have a lot to talk about, and I want to make a conscious effort today to be positive amongst some of the negative things we have to talk about. And you might be asking, what kind of negative things is Mark going to talk about this week? Remember, this is a podcast about the things I want to talk about. So a lot of times I didn't want to lead off with something negative, but the Yankees are playing so badly that it's almost hard not to talk about it at this point and sound like a crazy fan who doesn't know what real losing is, blah, 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 blah. Like, I get it. I get Yankee fans are privileged. I get Yankee fans are made fun of all the time for wanting excellence and wanting to go 162-0 and wanting to win every single year as a championship. I'm sure there are other fan bases that are just as passionate, right, that still kind of run into this issue, right, where it's like, oh, of course, if the players are playing bad, you guys can't understand that it's a grind of a sport. Guys, the Yankees have been playing such sloppy baseball that it's hard to watch the games at this point. And the lineup and the construction of this team is hard to ignore at this point. And hard to not sit back and go, I told you so. You know, this wasn't going to work, right? And the Yankees almost had us fooled. I mean, they really, really almost had us fooled in the beginning of the season. They added Soto. They added Verdugo. They added Marcus Stroman. And you see Brian Cashman making a lot of moves. And you're like, you know what? I mean, maybe this will work. Maybe this will be the injection that everybody needs. And the Yankees, until from the beginning of the season, from late March to about mid-June, were they incredible. I mean, winning every game, everything was happy. These guys were a team. They were dogs. Remember that? Oh, we were the dogs, Alex Verdugo. Nothing could stop the dogs. Well, turns out a lot of things can stop the dogs, and that means good teams can stop the dogs, right? Good teams basically neutered the dogs. They chomped them up. They ate them up. They had them for breakfast. They had them for lunch. They had them for dinner. They even had a little bit of dessert. And I'm talking about the Baltimore Orioles, where the first indication of this, of the Yankees seeing good, well-rounded teams. And they just wiped the floor with them. 3 out of 4, 2 out of 3 at the stadium. I mean, we talked about this last week, how the Orioles are just really good against the Yankees, right? They are the team to beat. And then the Yankees must have collectively decided around June 14th to just not show up and play the game of baseball. Because the lack of effort and the low energy that the team is exhibiting outside of Judge, who's having, again, another historic season, which I don't really care about, to be honest. And that's a different issue that we'll get to. The Yankees have gone 5-15. I guess they decided that they've won enough games, being the first major league team to get to 50 wins, that they could just kind of play it, take it easy, have a break, right? And I know baseball's a grind, blah, 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 but let's really be honest, right? Working a 9-to-5 job, that's a grind, right? Being a bus driver is a grind, right? Being a school teacher, that is the grind, right? That's a really hard job. I'm not going to sit here and as a podcaster, criticize, blah, 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 blah. I know everybody has their job to do, blah, blah, blah. But, I'm not going to sit here and describe being a baseball player as a grind. When you get to go and wake up at 12 o'clock in the afternoon and go to the baseball field, take a couple hits and lift weights and go to your catered buffet. I'm sorry, it's not a grind. You guys work 162 days a year, and then you get the greatest summer off in the history of the world, or the winter off, or whatever, right? And I know you're, travel, whatever, man. You're not a school teacher, right? So the idea of any baseball player saying the season's a grind is give me a break, right? I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm going to feel sorry for them playing baseball. They get paid millions of dollars to play a kid's game. So with that in mind, remember what we're talking about, the context of what we're talking about. To give low energy and to not hustle when you're paid to play the game, right? And you fall back on an excuse of it's hard to do, to play 100% every single day. That's all you're paid to do, I know you're trying to tend to your body, but you're getting paid. Go play with hustle. Glaber, the examples of them not hustling is just, it's coming out of the woodworks every single day, right? Glaber got benched for lack of hustle, right? Which was finally an example of Boone and the management taking matters into their own hands and benching a player for saying, hey, you didn't run up the first baseline. We're going to play this 1970s style. You're benched. It was amazing. I was never prouder, even though the team was still had some they're in a rough stretch. I was never prouder of the team in that moment going, finally, we're stop babying these players. We stop coddling the baby bombers, right? The these players that just don't exhibit hustle, right? Sad puppy dog Glaber, like they like to call him. Just bench him. They did it during the Mets series. Awesome. And then you have examples like this as the tailspin and the losing streak gets worse and worse and worse every single day. You have an example of Trent Grisham playing the Reds. And again, it is garbage time. It's top of the ninth. They have a 4-run deficit. And you have Trent Grisham do this. Let me push it up for the video podcast version, and let's play this clip. We got sound? Yeah, I think we do. Yep. Here we go.
1 count.
Ball hit to center field.
It's a base hit. So he picks
Trent
up
Grisham bobbles the ball in center, kind of dogs it, and
the throw is not in time.
the Reds have a double, a hustle double.
Grisham sleeping. Grisham also bobbled the ball, and Candelario noticed that.
Candelario with a hustle double from a base hit to center. Now, when it rains, it pours. I get that. But you're down 4. You're not down 14. You're down 4. The Reds are still playing baseball, even though they have a 4-run lead. They know it can go away like that if you have a good, energetic team, right? The energy that the Yankees need to have is that no deficit is too much for them to overcome. They're not playing that way. So that was the last game of the Reds series, and it was kind of like nail in the coffin feeling, gut punch. And then you have last night's game in the Red Sox. Now again, oops, sorry about that. Now you have the Yankees last night playing the Red Sox. It's a scoreless game. It's the bottom of the third, right? Ben Rice is up to bat. And Ben Rice has been doing pretty well filling in for Rizzo. If I was Anthony Rizzo, I'd be, if this guy goes on a tear, I think you might be seeing a platoon going on because Rizzo wasn't exactly like exhibiting, old Anthony Rizzo. He was looking like old Anthony Rizzo, if you know what I mean, right? Now, it's a scoreless game. You can't predict what's going to happen in last night's game. Of course, Clay Holmes gives up again. Clay Holmes struggling again, right? I mean, this is becoming a pattern. You can't predict what's going to happen, but he's going to give up the tying run in the ninth. And then Tommy Kahnle, essentially right away. It's not even, it's like 2 pitches in, 1 pitch in, Tommy Kahnle. 2-run home run, 5-3 Red Sox, and the game completely turns on its head. From 1 strike away from getting a really satisfying win for the Yankees, it's just ripped from them. It's ripped from them. But anyway, we have bottom of the third, 1 out. And the Yankees are kings at basically having a threatening situation on the base paths and finding a way to ground into a double play. That seems to be the story of the season. And I don't know if it's the way that they're teaching about hitting. Not to mention, Aaron Judge's hitting coach has some thoughts about that. Or whatever the case is. It's just like deflating. Anyways, the inning should have ended anyways. Because of the way that the double play turned out. But Anthony Volpe was caught not hustling. And I want to play a couple different clips here of this situation because this is what I don't want to see out of my baseball team. Right? And I say out of the Yankees. Right? If you're going to tell me every year you're going to have a championship caliber team, this is not what a championship caliber team does. Let me play that clip here. Let me push that clip to program. And we're going to check out. This is a tailor-made double play. The double play goes down the first base line. The first baseman hits the bag, which eliminates the force out, so they have to tag DJ LeMahieu. But if the runner scores before DJ LeMahieu gets tagged, the run will count. Now, every run counts for the Yankees at this point because they can't hit. They have no weapons outside of Judge and Soto, so every run counts. We're in a desert, people, and we're looking for water. Every drop counts. Here's the play. Oh, here's the play.
Grounded to first. There's 1. And there's 2. And the run does not score as Volpe slowed down at home plate. So he did not touch second before the runner was tagged. And the home plate
just dumbfounded.
It and spread his arms out and said it did not score. Watch this. That holdup right there cost him.
And DJ's got to get in a rundown too, because then the run will score and it gives Volpe plenty of time.
So
he just does not reach because he sees he pulls up.
And the tag was made before
he pulls up. Why are you watching that play? Just run. It's a double play. Just run. Just run through the bag, right? Because anything can happen. He's caught watching. And I have a little sound from Volpe here. Anthony Volpe, who, again, has been the shortstop and playing formidable shortstop. So I'm not going to completely, sit here and trash him. He plays a nice shortstop. It's definitely better than any of the other options that we've had in the past. But, why are you watching that play? Just run. You get paid just to work hard, run hard, and he's kind of dogging it. And he doesn't seem to as the Athletic put it, this morning in an article, didn't take accountability for the play. So I have some audio here, and I'm going to try to actually push this through via Bluetooth. It's a new technology. And let's hear what he has to say here. This is Anthony Volpe on the double play.
No, I mean, I just got to hustle all the way through there.
I guess he does take a little bit of
Yeah, I mean, the players in front of me, and it's got to be better.
Did you know the rule there that if you crossed before the last out that you would have been able to score?
Yeah, I think there was just confusion on fair foul.
Aaron Boone said he had talked to you after that. Just what was the message that he gave to you?
Yeah, you just got to, regardless, just play it all the way through.
Sorry, so did you think that was a foul ball?
Yeah.
How you describe what it's been like in here the last couple of weeks with the way you guys have been playing?
I mean, brutal. We play to win, and we expect to win, but yeah, I mean, regardless of when we're on winning streaks, when it's like this, I think we have a really good clubhouse of staying even keeled, showing up every day, and we trust each other, we trust ourselves, and we know we got everything ahead of us. So I'd say, I mean, we play to win. We expect to win. We're the Yankees, but I don't think no one's too discouraged, and we're ready to go.
It was only 3 weeks ago you guys had the best record in baseball. What do you think has changed in that time?
everything.
I mean, that's baseball. We got the same guys. Everyone has the same belief, but we'll get it right.
Okay.
I'm going to do something here that I've never done.
All right. And that was a little bit of Conan O'Brien coming through there at the end because of the YouTube Bluetooth. And that was courtesy of the Yes Network. That was Anthony Volpe's play. If I have to hear "That's Baseball" one more time, I swear to God. I mean, it's bad. Like, it's not baseball. It's bad play, right? I know you guys show up every single day. You're paid to show up every single day. It's whether or not you're playing hard baseball. And it's not. These two plays, Trent Grisham, Anthony Volpe, they're not. These guys, we're sold a bill of goods every single week that these guys were the greatest players ever drafted. These guys were hustled. These guys were emulated baseball. Does that look like emulated baseball? Does that look like the hardest working players? No. That doesn't look like hustle baseball. You know what was hustle baseball? Candelario on the Reds, making a hustle double after he realizes that the team is completely asleep. That the team is in hibernation. That's baseball. Watch Ellie De La Cruz. That's baseball. Watch Bobby Witt Jr. That's baseball. That is hustle baseball. Let's play a little bit of Aaron Judge, and then I swear to God, this podcast is going to get a lot more positive. I do. I just want to call out the Yankees, right? I want to call out the Yankees right now and say, you guys, use me as a rallying cry. You stink right now. And whatever you can do to get better, you do. Play the game better. They stink right now. They stink. Let's hear from Aaron Boone on this, also courtesy of the Yes Network. And let me push up the Bluetooth here and talking about Clay Holmes blowing it here.
Seemed too significant, but was feeling it in that groin area.
You feel like he's a player for you tomorrow?
We'll see.
Chris?
It's been 3 straight weeks now of you guys really struggling. Why do you feel like it's lasted this long?
I mean, it's been a little everywhere. You know, we've been, in a lot of these games behind the 8 ball a little bit where we've, had a rough start or whatever. Tonight we're about to finish off a game and they, the long ball hurts us again. The long ball's been something that's hurt us, certainly on the defensive side of things. And where we've had times where we've been scoring runs, some, those chances to really pile on. And again, like tonight, you're facing a really good pitcher in Houck, and I felt like we had a ton of good at-bats and put ourselves in position to maybe break a game open and just weren't able to do it tonight. And that's when you're going through it and, you're giving up some more runs than you have pretty much all year. We got to add on when we have those opportunities, and we haven't done that well enough.
Are you at all concerned with the lack of swing and miss in the bullpen? I know it's obviously been something you guys have been dealing with all year.
Well, I mean, it hurt us tonight. I thought Clay's stuff was really good. They made him work even when he was retiring hitters and spoiling. And finally, that kind of middle down right in Yoshida's hot spot there. And he didn't miss it. Credit to him on not missing it. But I think the amount of foul balls and not being able to finish a guy, hurt us tonight.
Yeah, so Aaron Boone giving the same kind of boilerplate, but they really need to hold themselves accountable. I mean, they're just not playing like a good team. They're not hitting like a good team. They need to add something at the deadline. They need to add hitting. They can't. The Yankees are kind of slowly becoming a perennial hot starter, and then they fall apart. And they blame injuries all the time. Because I know that's what happened, right? Giancarlo goes down. Glaber's now going down, right? Cole went down. Clark Schmidt went down. And the excuse is always like, we didn't plan for that. That's what depth is, right? Brian Cashman's job is to create depth. I know the Martian went down too with an oblique injury. But that's when you try to find someone. You try to make trades. You try to make something happen so that the team can get better. So you have that next man up mentality you had in 2017. You had depth at that point. And then you could wait on the actual regular starters to kind of move the needle. But the Yankees, they just don't have depth. Outside of Judge and Soto, if Judge and Soto go down, forget it. This team is 82-80. If not worse. I mean, let's face it. They struggled last year to get to 82-80. And you're seeing it right now. Luckily, the Yankees, after a crushing loss, they do come back at 105 today, so they've got a couple of hours here from this recording to kind of make up. They've got Cole on the bump right now against Winkowski for Boston. Again, you got to hope that they go on a tear. If they can lose this badly, you got to hope that they can win. Win this badly as well. They can go on a streak and a tear to kind of make up the ground that they lost. I mean, they are sitting right now 3 games behind the Baltimore Orioles, and the Orioles do not show signs of slowing. So you might have a wild card finish here, which is fine. The ultimate goal now in Major League Baseball playoffs is to basically be a 500 team until the end. It's not to win the division anymore. Times have changed. But, man, the Yankees got to turn it around. Otherwise, you're looking at a Red Sox team that's playing well, a Rays team that's playing well. The Jays, hell, if the Yankees can go 5-15, the Jays can go 15-5. I mean, so it's a hard division. And it's not a division where you can just punt on 20 games and hope that you're still in it. So hopefully something changes after the All-Star break. Maybe those 3 days off will help. But honestly, when the team is going this badly, this is where you need your captain, Aaron Judge, to change the mentality of the team, right? And Judge has failed to do that. This is 2 years now that the mentality has been lose. The mentality has been lose, lose, lose. And it doesn't seem like he has any kind of gusto to slow it down for the team. And I don't know if that's being a good captain at this point, Like, I understand defending your guys, but it's about winning. It's not about whether these guys feel good at the end of the day or mentally feel good. It's about how many wins you have in the column and how well you do in October. And right now, if this is the team that's going to head into October, I mean, there's no chance. There's no chance. Anyways, we got to wrap it up there. Hopefully the Yankees will come back. They'll turn it around. We'll have more positive things to talk about. I think they got to stop babying their players. Bench Anthony Volpe. If you did it with Glaber, bench Volpe. That was unacceptable. You got to show the team that the management is not willing to deal with that, to take that. Also, I want to comment really quickly before we go. Sorry. I'm thinking about more things as we go. We just make this show up on the spot. That's why there's no itinerary, right? July 4th, you have a standoff between Ian Hamilton and a couple players on the Reds. And it kind of delays the beginning of the game, right? And this is apparently a July 4th tradition in baseball. I wish I had the clip up. I don't have the clip. But finally Aaron Boone, after, it's clearly time to start the game, waves the players back, and Cincy loves it, and they're all, having a good time because they won the standoff. This is not something you do when you're in a 4-19 stretch. Like, I'm all for making the game more fun and antics, but you do that when you're winning, or it doesn't feel like you guys are in a complete and utter tailspin. And that might be too old man, whatever. I don't care. You don't do that when you're losing baseball games left and right. You focus in on the game. It's all about winning. It's not about being friends with the other team. I want to see that kind of grit come from the Yankees. The grit that they tried to get with different players, with Rugi Odor, with Josh Donaldson, right? They brought these players in to give them grit. And you don't do that by doing antics when you're in the middle of the worst stretch of baseball. You're the worst team in the MLB right now. Anyways, let's move on. I want to move on to more positive things, including laughing at the Major League Baseball uniforms here. The All-Star Game's coming up in Texas. They're playing the game in Texas. And they decided to unveil the Major League Baseball uniforms. Now, the last couple of years, the All-Star Game has been using the uniforms that are usually seen during the Home Run Derby. There's always a uniform made for the All-Star festivities. But one of my favorite parts about seeing the All-Star Game was the novelty of the game. There was something about seeing Derek Jeter throw to Mo Vaughn, or to see basically Albert Pujols playing the same infield as as Zimmerman from the Nationals. You know what I mean? Like, there was something cool about having all the uniforms together. And this year they're making a conscious effort to kind of make sure that the players use these uniforms during the game. And to me, it kind of takes out the fun. Not to mention the style of the uniforms are just bad. Let's push them right here. This is via The Athletic. Not exactly the greatest color scheme. There's like kind of a reddish, for the people listening to the audio podcast, the American League are donning a reddish and white color scheme with American League draped over the chest with a light blue Nike swoosh. And the National League is basically the inverse, featuring light blue sleeves on black with a blue National League over the chest with a red Nike swoosh. The hats are atrocious. like they're trying to exhibit, I think, Texas colors, kind of old Texas kind of feeling themes here. They're bad. I mean, they're just really bad. I mean, you could argue that the entire reason City Connect jerseys exist are to, say it with me, people, sell jerseys, right? It's a money-making scheme from the beginning to the end, right? There's a reason that 29 out of 30 teams have a City Connect jersey. Dodgers have 2 of them. It's to sell you, the consumer, more junk in your closet. This is no different, right? The Yes broadcast last night panned to some person wearing a Yankee All-Star hat because they needed to have it. And I love collecting hats. I mean, I'm a sucker for it too. So I am that consumer, especially with the hats. I love having new hats. I love having, new things to wear, right? These things are atrocious. I wouldn't even care that much if it was just the Home Run Derby. But the fact that they're going to force the players to wear this during the actual All-Star game makes the whole game look homogenous in that way. My mic's going in and out. It makes it very, very homogenous. And I don't like that look for the All-Star game. Bring the fun back to the game, to the All-Star game. Bring the fun back of seeing your team represented. The representation of the team goes down, especially for those teams that don't send a lot of players. I mean, do you remember years back with the All-Star game when the Yankees were winning the World Series, Joe Torre would bring like 18 Yankees. There'd be like one player from the Rays, and it would be like the strength and conditioning coach. Like there was nobody from other teams represented. And I can understand that, like over-representation from some team. I mean, we have right now Judge and Soto are going to be starting in the outfield, right? You want to see your team represented, especially if you're a younger player and you know you have a favorite team. You want to see someone from, you know, the Rangers, from the Rockies, right? You want to see your favorite player on that team, on that game, because that's special to you. By making them wear the same uniform, it just looks like company softball league. I mean, can you really tell when you're looking at it from a far, wide out angle who belongs to what team anymore? I don't know. Let me know what you guys think about the new uniforms. I think they're atrocious. I think it's a money-making scheme left and right. And unfortunately, it takes the fun out of the All-Star game. I mean, they've done a number of different things. They're changing the rules of the Home Run Derby to make it quicker. I don't know anybody who watched the Home Run Derby and was like, I wish this was quicker. The Home Run Derby it's just a stupid game, you know. The All-Star game, one could argue the necessity of the All-Star game in the middle of the game, especially when players are not even attending. What's the point of the All-Star break if not for the novelty of the fact that it's such a weird game? They're taking a little elements of that away, and that's what I don't enjoy. If you're going to take the elements of what makes it unique away, then just take it away. Just let the players have a 3-day break where there's no baseball, and let us all enjoy our summer without having to tune into this seemingly meaningless game, you know, because it no longer applies anymore about home field advantage, thank God. But anyways, let me know what you guys think about the uniforms. The uniforms, to me, are really, really bad, and I got to figure out what's going on with my mic. I don't know what's going in and out. Anyways, we're going to take a quick break here. We're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about Despicable Me 4 and Mike Birbiglia when we get back from the break. We'll see you soon. Bye. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the show. Again, this is the Powell Not Found podcast, episode 26, and where you've just finished talking about the Yankees' July woes, the All-Star game uniforms, how bad they are, and now we're going to be talking a little bit about Despicable Me 4. I went to go see that show, the movie in the theater. Slowly but surely, I feel like the movie lineup has become a little bit better as of late. There's a lot more things to see. Quiet Place Day 1, I still kind of want to go see a screening of that and talk about it on the show. But we've kind of hit this role, weirdly enough, about talking about children's movies, including If, like we talked about a couple weeks ago. Inside Out apparently was pretty good. And now Despicable Me 4. Now, Despicable Me 4, an interesting movie to see, especially considering the fact that I had not tuned into a Despicable Me or Minions flick for years. I think the first one came out in 2010, so 14 years later, a lot has happened, apparently. Luckily, you can kind of enjoy this movie. They've set it up in a way where if you haven't seen any of the other ones, you can still enjoy this show. You can still pick up where you left off. It's not really that complicated of a plot. This isn't season 5 of Game of Thrones. What's happening? What's going on? This is a children's show through and through that anybody can enjoy. I think there are references in this movie that if you had seen the previous ones and you've kept up with the Despicable Me lore that you probably know about, but it actually is a pretty funny comedy. It kind of does fall flat, at least in my opinion. I really remember, and this might be me kind of having revisionist history about the first Despicable Me, but I thought the concept was so clever, and it was one of those animated features that really stuck in my head years on, where I still had good memories looking back on it, saying, "Oh, I love the performance by Steve Carell. I like the character. I like the conceit. I love the fact that he's a villain. He's the best villain, and he's after this thing, and he gets kind of turned. His heart gets turned by those 3 girls that he ends up taking care of in the movie. I haven't seen any of the other ones, so I can't reflect on that one. But I knew that the first one was good enough to leave a really good impression on me going forward. And so, as this is the 6th entry in the Despicable Me franchise, including the 2 Minions prequels, there was Minions, and then The Rise of Gru. I can't speak to how good they were, but for a 6th entry in a film franchise, there were 2 things that stood out to me. One, a 6th one of anything is going to feel stale in some regards, right? There isn't. I feel like sometimes stories run their course a little bit. It's not easy to keep reinventing the wheel over and over and over again, and they do a pretty good job having a new antagonist. Having these people evolve, having their families evolve. The dynamic between the baby and Gru is pretty funny, and the slapstick humor that comes from the Minions is okay. It's pretty good. It keeps you entertained, especially watching this film that runs at about 94 minutes. So you're in and out pretty quickly. 2, when it's the 6th one in the franchise, you almost feel like the movie's trying to signal to you that this is it. It's over. We've run its course. And 2 big factors may factor in when making this decision. One, I don't think the movie's getting reviewed that well. And I think the reviews are kind of fair, right? If it got a middling review from IGN, I don't think the Metacritic is that great on it. It's one of those things where it just feels like it's not. It feels like it's a run of the mill, like should have been a TV episode or something like that. It's something, nothing really kind of like sticks out of like, that was hilarious, this was really funny. It just seems like they're kind of running this into the ground a little bit. And also when the reviews kind of reflect the same kind of feelings, going, this is kind of overplayed, overdone. This is kind of, this franchise is over. I think you have to kind of take that into consideration. The other thing is, if this thing makes millions and millions and millions at the box office, you better believe there's going to be a Despicable Me 5, right? I mean, there's going to be, they're not going to sit there and smile politely at a whole bunch of money coming into the box office. So regardless of whatever the critics think, if this thing makes billions, right, millions and millions and millions of dollars, they're going to make a sequel, regardless of how bad it is, until they run it completely in the ground, or unless they don't have engagement from the people that make it work. And in this case, if they don't have Steve Carell, if they don't have Will Ferrell, if they don't have Kristen Wiig, if they don't have names attached to it, they might just walk away from it. But man, there were a lot of people in my theater, so who am I to say that it was bad? But I don't think that the plot itself was very memorable. A day after seeing it, I can't really remember what happened. I mean, it's not like If I walked away from going, that probably wasn't a kid's movie per se, but it was a movie that had a good message and a good story, and it felt complete, and it really affected me. And Despicable Me, the first one, did that to me, where I can remember the kind of the rough beats of the movie. This one did not have that kind of same thing. It felt like this was another episode in a long-running series, and it's not going to really stick with me that much after the screening. But let me know what you guys thought of the movie. I didn't think it was that memorable. I didn't think it was that great, but you might have a totally different opinion. So let me know what you guys thought of the movie. And talking about this, and I'm going to wrap up the show pretty quickly here. The last thing I want to talk about is that there was an announcement that Brad Pitt is going to star in, according to the F1 Twitter, feed, F1 announced that the movie about F1 called F1 is finally coming in summer of 2025. This Sunday, tomorrow, they're going to have a sneak peek of the movie at the British Grand Prix at Silverstone. And my first reaction to this is about time. There's been a lot of movies about racing that have kind of come and gone, and not many have really kind of hit with everybody. I mean, Gran Turismo, there's Ford versus Ferrari. There's a lot of different racing movies that have didn't seem to kind of hit the zeitgeist at all, like really, or move the needle when it came to showing how this was. Drive to Survive, clearly, might be at this point past its peak a little bit. Definitely peaked during COVID, during the pandemic times in 2020, when people were really, really getting into it, and I feel like it's on its downward slant. So the first impression I get of this movie premiere is this is arriving about 3 years too late. And they do explain in numerous articles that the writer's strike had a lot to do with that, delaying everything. This probably should have come out about a year and a half ago, and probably would have been a little bit better timed with everyone's excitement, especially with Max and Lewis going on, that these were the big storylines, that this would have been great. Seems a little bit late, but I'm curious to see if this one will have any pull with the public, if this will review well. They seem to be trying to make it as authentic as possible. Lewis Hamilton is involved in it, and I guess heavily involved in it. And I believe it was last year when Brad Pitt and the film crew were actually in the paddock and in the actual race, filming scenes to try to make it as authentic as possible. So I'm really curious to see this. I want to see this on day one. I want to get my impressions of it. Having been a newly minted F1 fan over the last 3 or 4 years, I'm really curious to see if this movie will play to what the plot of this movie will be, and whether this is going to be a more realistic, fictionalized depiction of F1 racing. If you are looking for not a fictionalized movie, but a movie about racing, what I would recommend, if you can't wait until this one, is go check out Schumacher on Netflix. That is, albeit it's a pretty tragic story, as we all know. Michael Schumacher having a kind of a tragic accident. The actual documentary is pretty heartfelt, and it's a nice kind of look back at some of the things that have happened in F1 before we get characters like Alonso and Sebastian Vettel and Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen, and it gives you kind of a little bit of perspective of his dominance before his tragic accident. Plus, it's a little bit, as Toto Wolff likes to call Drive to Survive, a little less Top Gun and a little bit more real. So be interesting to see what kind of approach they take with this movie, Brad Pitt's F1, and also whether that name will change until in summer 2025, because F1 just seems very, the title seems a little bland for such an exciting sport. So we'll see. And with that, we're going to wrap up the show for the week of July 6th, 2024. Again, like I say always, try to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Tell me what you think about the Yankees. Tell me what you think about Despicable Me 4. Tell me what you think about those All-Star uniforms or any of the City Connect uniforms. I'm open to all criticism about uniforms and graphic design. Those comments are always interesting. And remember to subscribe on Apple Podcasts and rate and review the show for me so the show will grow. And with that, we will take off for the week. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we will see you later. Bye.
Stop us from sinking.